Good morning and welcome to the Dan Beasley Show. Today's show is going to be talking about various items in today's news and headlines, along with a brief commentary at the end of the show. I'd like for you to stay tuned and listen to the broadcast. Welcome. We're coming to you live from Hartsville, South Carolina. The time is 9:59 a.m. It's on July the 11th, 2013. In today's news today, Randy Travis is in the news. Randy Travis suffered a stroke last night due to his complication of congestive heart failure, and he's undergoing surgery to relieve his brain pressure that's on his brain. And that was released by his publicist and hospital officials in Texas. Uh, This was released on July the 10th at 9:53 p.m. Of course, we wish Mr. Travis the best of recovery and a quick recovery at that. He is 54 years old, and he was stricken with a cardiomyopathy virus that caused his heart to not pump enough blood through his body, and he was given an assist device to help with that. And as a result, he has now been hospitalized since then in critical condition. So we wish Randy the best. Moving on to our next news item. Jobless claim rise, but labor recovery grinds on. This is originating from Reuters. Out of Washington, the number of Americans filing new claims for unemployment benefits rose last week, a potentially worrisome sign for the economy, although the level still points to ongoing healing of the labor market. Other data on Thursday showed prices for U.S. imports and exports fell in June for the fourth straight month, hit by cooler economic growth worldwide. Initial claims for state unemployment benefits increased by 16,000 to a seasonally adjusted 360,000 people on the unemployment list. The Labor Department gave us those statistics. And moving on to our next story, we have a story coming out of San Francisco regarding the crash of the Asiana jet that crashed in San Francisco. Um, and the pilot is blaming a flash of light. He says the pilot of the 777 says a flash of light temporarily blinded him. Well, we all know that there's a problem with green lasers being used to blind. Some people are blinding the pilots as they make their landing approaches. Here in South Carolina, they have outlawed green lasers down at the airport locations and also around Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, due to the potential abuse of this and causing problems with aircraft. So anyway, that's in the news, and we're also looking at other things that may have potentially contributed to that accident. So stay tuned for more information as it becomes available. The next news item is Pat Robertson is in the news, and Pat Robertson is one of America's top televangelists, and he is according to WND-TV, he says America must rise up like Egypt. He is using Egypt as the model for the Americans to follow, and he says that Americans should take an example from the Egyptians who ousted former President Mohamed Morsi and rise up to stop Obamacare. He says, you know that they revolted in Egypt against the oppressive actions of the Muslim Brotherhood, and this example of state socialism is something that Americans should rise up against. He said Wednesday on the 700 Club, referring to President Obama's Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. He added, they snuck that thing by us. And the then Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, called for passage of Obamacare, declaring We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it, away from the fog of the controversy. Um, in December 2009, the legislation passed the Senate 60 to 39 with not one Republican vote. In the House, the vote was 219 to 212, with 34 Democrats joining, 178 Republicans in opposition. So it was a close vote in the House, but it was not so close in the Senate. It was like almost a 50% split in the Senate. But anyway, in 2009, conservative pundit Michelle Malkin published a list of payoffs and last-minute backroom deals that led to the legislation's passage. They used to call that pork barrel, and also um, strong arming, if you want to put it that way. Robertson described Obama's signature legislation as 2,700 pages of gobbledygook. The televangelist is known for harshly criticizing the president. 2012, Robertson called Obama a socialist who is out to destroy America. He says, he thinks ideologically I must cripple the capitalist class, I must cripple the business owners, I must destroy the free enterprise system in America, he said. Moving on to our next story, we've got a story coming out of Egypt, Libya, on the Benghazi issue. And the Benghazi issue is still in the news. It still relates to Hillary Clinton and her role in it, and also, what is going on and how it relates to other things in the Middle East. Libyan official ties Morsi's to the Benghazi attack. So when you look at it, it says a letter by a top Libyan official blames the attack that killed U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens on Mohamed Morsi, a now deposed president of Egypt. WorldNet Daily has verified the authenticity of the letter by Colonel Mohammed al-Sharif, the chief of the Department of Security of the Libyan government in Tripoli, written 4 days after the attack on the U.S. compound in Benghazi. The letter mentions Morsi as being implicated in the planning that led to the Benghazi attack and identifies the Egyptian jihadist group Ansar Sharia as the group responsible. So this is declaring that the attack was a terrorist attack. It wasn't just a reaction by a mob to a video that was on YouTube at the time, as it was originally reported. The letter disclosed that the bodies of the 3 Americans killed in the attack, along with Ambassador Stevens, were desecrated into revenge for the production of the anti-Islam film, which is what I just mentioned, and assumed to be innocence of the the film was entitled Innocence of the Muslims, and the film was produced by the imprisoned Mark Baisley Yusuf, the person the Obama administration erroneously claimed was responsible for triggering the attack. So now they're saying that Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood were involved in the attack and not the film that was on YouTube. Moving on to our next story from blacklistednews.com. The source is Economic Times and .indiatimes.com. It says, has the breakup of the Eurozone already started? On a visit to Athens this year, Marius Loukadis, a Cypriot businessman, saw an apartment that he liked in the heart of the Greek capital and decided to buy it. He told the owner he would seal the deal with a bank transfer. The price was 170,000 euros, or about $220,000, once he got back to Cyprus. After returning, however, Loukadis discovered that the euros that he had on deposit here in Nicosia, the capital, could not be moved to Greece, even though the two countries shared the same currency, and in theory, at least, the same commitment to the free movement of capital. The apartment deal collapsed, and so did Loukadis' belief that Europe has a common currency, which is the EU. Tangled in the which is the euro. I'm sorry. Tangled into restrictions imposed in March as part of the bailout of the country's ailing banks, a euro in Cyprus is no longer the same as one in France, Germany, or Greece. So we have a loss of integrity there of the euro as it's being applied within between the different countries, which is causing a collapse of the euro, and the eurozone is soon to follow. Um, and looking toward our next item, we've had a excuse me, massive mudslide in Colorado. It washed away cars off the highway. A thunderstorm sent rocks, and this is coming from Manitou Springs, Colorado. Thunderstorm has sent rocks, mud, debris, and running water rushing down parts of US 24 in a canyon in Manitou Springs, leaving some vehicles covered or stuck in mud. The rock slide closed a 4-mile stretch of US 24 Wednesday afternoon. El Paso County Sheriff's officials said there were no immediate reports of injuries. The American Red Cross opened a shelter for people seeking higher ground. National Weather Center Service has issued flash flood warnings Wednesday afternoon for areas scarred by the Waldo Canyon fire last year and the Black Forest fire this year, since soil and vegetation that normally would absorb rainfall has been burned away. So this is related to some of the Colorado fires and the ability of the vegetation and things of that nature to hold the soil in place. Now that has been removed with the fires, and therefore with the rains following the fires is causing mudslides. So they're using bulldozers to clear the mud and off of Highway 24, and it's leaving some vehicles covered or stuck in the mud. So we have that in the news, and the next news item coming up: Republicans drop food stamps from the Farm Bill. And this is out of Washington from the Associated Press. It says, bruised from the defeat of the massive farm bill last month, Republicans are giving the legislation another chance to bring a pared-down version to the House floor. GOP leaders were still counting how many votes they could muster for the new measure, which drops the politically sensitive food stamp portion of the bill, when they released legislation late Wednesday. The White House swiftly issued a veto threat, and the House Democrats reacted angrily to the last-minute move. A vote is expected Thursday. The drop section would have made a 3% cut in the $80 billion a year food stamp program. Many Republicans says that is not enough since the program's cost has doubled in the last 5 years. Democrats have opposed any cuts. The White House said the food stamps should not be left out of the bill, and as a result, they are still fighting and trying to meet this thing out to come up with a solution between the two parties. They are reluctant to sign or to reduce this the food stamps. The Democrats are, and the Republicans are seeking for deeper cuts in the farm subsidies and also the food stamps. So anyway, we have that in the news, and moving on to our next news item, we have a report from Laguna Beach, California, and this is coming out of NBC Southern California, and on Watch Live today in LA. It says the public shouldn't fret about giant jellyfish in Laguna Beach, expert says. Beachgoers were surprised when they came ashore with dark membranes clinging to their bodies. And says a rare jellyfish, a giant jellyfish, may have made its debut in Sunday at the beach in South Laguna Beach, where people were reported to have suffered stings. Some beachgoers came ashore with dark membranes clinging to their bodies.